Let me give you some shout outs and some questions. Doug and Barb, Mary McGuire, Heather Holzer, thank you all for watching. Harriet Bass, Opal Deagle, Marnay Sunberg, Teresa Reeves, Jesse Prey, it's your birthday. So many birthdays. My birthday's next week. I was I'm turning 44. Oh my goodness, I'm getting old. Natalie Huber, thank you for being here. We have people watching from Finland. Amazing. Northeast Canada, Miami, Florida, Iran? Serious? No. I wonder if that's a joke. If you're really watching in Iran, thank you. Egypt. I'm choosing you over one of the seven wonders of the world. Don't do that. You're going to regret that forever. Go out and explore. I say that as I'm like the ultimate homebody and I'm being, stretching myself to go out and explore Arizona. Zimbabwe, amazing. Cody, Wyoming, and Dingle, Idaho. Thank you all for watching and for supporting East Idaho News and for supporting us with your donations and your t-shirt purchases. It's been so fun to see many of you showing up in court with your t-shirts. And I want to thank you. I do want to say one thing before I get to your questions that many of you are so kind. You asked for photos inside the courthouse, but we cannot take photos inside the courthouse. And so I have told many of you we'll do it after outside. And I never seem to catch up with you. So I apologize if you were hoping to meet or get a photo. But I do leave the courthouse every day at lunch. I go outside and do a video, and then I do one at the end of, when I leave at the end of the day around 4:30. And let's go to your questions now. Who's coughing? Is it you? Give that man a cough drop. We talked about that earlier. Yes, we will try to figure out. Hopefully by Monday they feel better. 3-day weekend can do wonders. Why can't the public hear the jurors' questions? We kind of talked about that, Kelly, that sometimes it's up to the judge to decide whether if the questions should be let in or if the questions won't be asked and who will ask them. So that's kind of the protocol there. Okay. What was Lori's reaction when she saw Colby walk into court? Lori, and this is Lori is asking this. I don't think it's Lori Vallow asking this, but Lori actually, Colby was in there first. Lori is one of the last persons to be brought in, and she didn't see him in the beginning. She walked over, and I noticed, though, Colby was just kind of stared at her, and she didn't turn around. It took some time before I think she realized that he was there, and Colby told me that she smiled at him for about 10 seconds, and he just kind of looked at her. So I'm sure that once she realized he was there, I don't know if her mood changed or behavior changed. I'm sure she would have loved to go talk with him, but you're not allowed to talk with the defendant. Nate, has Lori ever looked at you or motioned to you or talked to you in the courtroom? From Angie. She hasn't tried to talk to me. She has looked at me the other day. We were waiting for the jury to be brought in, and she turned around and we made eye contact, and she smiled. She smiled at me, but we haven't talked. Lori did not give Charles back his phone. Do you think she saw his text from his date and was jealous? That's what she has said. I believe she said that in her police interview, or she accused Charles of having an affair. And remember, this is her story that she saw the phone. As far as why she wouldn't give it back, she probably wanted to go through it. But obviously, with this deal with Alex planned the night before, most likely, that the phone was just kind of the excuse, I guess, or the reason they kind of came up with this story. I can say this and you can say that. That's what the whole trial is about, the conspiracy. How much did they conspire together? Can the judge impose punishment on Lori, who seems to add to her questions? He's already talked to her about that you cannot add testimony to your questions. You need to keep it simply to a question. Don't add, oh, that's interesting, stuff like that. He could probably continue to admonish her to stop. I don't know what further punishments he could give on her. He's giving her a lot of leeway. Many of you have said that. One of you said that in the video I just played, that you're shocked at how much leeway he's giving. He has to be careful, because this is going to go up on appeal, and an appellate court could be like, oh, well, maybe Lori actually did have a valid point there. In fact, she did the other day on redirect. The prosecution went outside the scope of the questions that were there. You have to stick with your questions. And at the end, the judge said, I do believe the defendant was right. The prosecution did go beyond the scope. And then he asked Lori, if you would like to do further cross-examine direct, you can. And she declined. How did the jury react when Lori talked to Nancy Joe? Angie is asking this. I They were interested in the conversation. The courtroom, I would say, was more tense than it's been on other days, because Lori was obviously uh, feeling strong feelings about Nancy Joe communicating with her husband. Are the witnesses not allowed to talk about JJ and Tylee? If they are asked, the witnesses can only talk about what they are asked, and they can only answer the questions. They cannot give a monologue. They cannot, give a narrative. They have to simply ask the questions. If they were asked, "What do you know about JJ?" then it could open the door. Could the judge make Lori refer to Charles as the victim instead of my husband? Well, he's technically was both, but no, because I don't know if victim is a word that the defense might not believe was there. The defense's argument is that Charles wasn't the victim. Tylee and Lori could have been the victims because Charles was attacking them. That's their argument. So I think that she just says, my husband. Wendy, is there not a bailiff in the courtroom? I thought I remembered from the Idaho trials that a bailiff would hand things to witnesses and also retrieve witnesses who are being called to the stand. That's another interesting observation. I noticed the same thing. In Idaho, during the trials, there were far more bailiffs and deputies in there, like 1, 2, 3, probably 5. And this trial, there's like 2, and they stand over by Lori. It's just run differently here. For instance, when a witness comes out, Trina Kay goes and gets the witnesses, and when she opens the door, she announces loudly, "The next witness is Adam Cox. The next witness is Kay Woodcock," and they take the stand. The other interesting thing is that in Idaho, when the judge walks out, the bailiff will yell, "Please stand for the Honorable Judge Stephen Boyce." And we'll stand, and the judge will say, "Thank you, please be seated." And then, "Please stand for the jury," when the jury walks in. The judge's clerk does that now, one of his assistants. It's not like a bailiff thing, and I don't know if that has to do with the powers and the duties. And then when the witness needs to be handed a piece of evidence, the prosecutor will say, "Can I approach, or can my paralegal approach?" Just different systems. It's all done different. When I worked in Virginia, things were done differently too. It is a little odd to be like, this judge is pretty chill as far as formalities from what I've observed. When he'll come in, sometimes he'll be in there and like no one will stand. It's just kind of awkward. Is it possible that Charles' phone was recording when he set it down? Oh, that's a good question. Perhaps you wonder if they were able to obtain whatever it was recording, or if Lori erased it, or if it was recording. Maybe we'll hear more from the experts next week on that. Good question. Some of Kay's questions leaned to JJ being gone. Do you think the jurors picked up on that? Yeah, I think that they may have, because she spoke of him in past tense. If a witness last saw Lori at the Idaho trial, are they advised to not answer truthfully under oath if they asked when they last saw her? No, I don't think they would ever be advised to not answer truthfully. I think they would have to answer truthfully. I'm trying to think which witness. I guess Kay would have seen her there, but Kay wasn't asked that, and I'm sure that the detectives obviously saw her there, but no one has flat out. Well, one said that he reviewed his testimony from the Idaho trial, so that did come in. Were you surprised to hear about Charles and Tylee's relationship? No, I wasn't. I talked about this last night, just that, Tylee was a teenager, and I'm sure there was a lot of emotions in the home, I guess you could say. And with Lori doing what Lori was doing, there was probably some frustration. So I wasn't like shocked, but I could see there's a lot of friction in the teenage years, and I have a daughter who's entering them soon. I'm not ready. Did Adam make eye contact with Lori? Yes, she did. And was Uncle Rex in court? Yeah, he's been coming. Debbie asks. He's been coming. He was there with Adam yesterday when Adam testified and walked him in and walked him out, but I think he's been there almost every other day. Was Lori nervous when she questioned Kay? I don't know if nervous is the word, but she definitely had a different attitude compared to some of the others. If you watch, it's very clear. She was more of the timid Lori, more of the held back Lori, more of the reserved Lori. Let me see what else. I may be reading into this, Sydney, but do you notice the difference between how Lori speaks and to females versus males? No, I don't know if you're reading into it. I think it's an observation. She definitely does. Look at the differences between her interview with Keith and Brianna here in Arizona. Very different, very different attitude, very different feelings. I think it's a very astute observation there that many people have. Jolene, do you think the jurors are wondering why everyone is speaking of the children in past tense? Good question. We've talked a little bit about that. I'm sure it's come up. Is everyone who has testified released from their subpoena? I don't know. They don't really address that here. So I that's a great question. I don't know. I was going to look into that and find somebody who could give me those answers. So hopefully I will get that to you and let you know. Just going through any final questions. I think we're good. I think we got them. Everybody, I thank you for watching every night this week. Here is where you can find me. I'm on all the socials. I generally do Facebook the most just because it's simple for me. I'm going to post, I think, some adventures from my next few days here in Arizona, just as I go out and explore. Whoops, here we go. This is where you can find me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Here is where you can watch the trial. If you haven't bookmarked or subscribed to our channel, that'd be amazing. Doesn't cost you anything. Next week, the trial is starting early on Monday and Tuesday, a half hour early. And that is when you can tune into our YouTube channel and watch live. So actually, add 30 minutes to each of these. It's going to be 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, and 1:30 next week because we're starting at 10 a.m. on Monday and Tuesday. So that is where you can watch. We actually go live a little bit earlier on our channel to help you, have it bookmarked and whatnot. So hopefully no technical issues. There were a couple of tech issues this week with Court TV being the pool. Also realize that there's dozens of outlets that are pooling this video, and the media room is in a non cell phone friendly room to get a signal, so everyone's kind of, it's smaller than this hotel room. It's very small, very small. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I appreciate you being here, and we will be back on Sunday night for another edition of Courtroom Insider. I'm Nate Eaton. Take care.